All right. My thoughts on the drug talking points from all three candidates. This is from the uh, October 16th um, gubernatorial forum that happened here in American Samoa. The the issue of drugs is what I'm concerned about. So I'm highlighting that and what the candidates' response to it. First, the lieutenant governor. He highlighted the seizures and the job well done by the men and women of law enforcement, and also highlighted the Governor's Council on Substance Abuse, or Governor's Substance Abuse Council. And that council has been in existence for 2 years. In that council are the NGOs, non-government organizations, and some government agencies like Department of Health and DWA, who are receiving this funding through from the governor's Substance Abuse Council. The I've talked to one of the people that were mentioned, um, one of the agencies that were mentioned by the lieutenant governor, back on track. And they've had a lot of challenges in funding because they weren't considered a viable agency because Ms. Mona Uli there did not have a degree. That's sad because you can have all the degrees that for administration and whatnot, but when you have someone who's um, has experience, life experience dealing with drugs, and has had herself uh, been affected by meth and use and addiction, and you have this great ideas. Um, she's been working not only with drug addicts and users, but counseling, but also with domestic violence, people that were affected by the victims. And there's all sorts of things happening in that. So, as not to fund those the great work that's done by Back on Track, then there's there's inefficiencies in what the lieutenant governor. Let me take that back. The lieutenant governor boasts about the great work they've done. The council hasn't done anything but meet and fund these agencies. It was also stated that a lot of funding went to DWA, the Department of Youth and Women's Affairs. They are a government agency, I believe, and they have their own budget. So additional money to that agency, it doesn't make sense. Yes, DWA has one of the biggest, one of the biggest venue here on the west side, in the village of Tafuna, next to Tafuna High School. And a lot of activities are done in there. That's great. It keeps the kids busy, whatnot, and awareness programs. But it doesn't provide counseling services. It doesn't provide a program like a 12-step program into combating addiction issues and mental health issues. The Department of Health has clinicians that also do that, but it's sparsely done because this agency, my thoughts on it, should be a unifying agency in addressing the problem together. Well, how can they address the problem together if they're funded individually and they go and do their program on their own, these agencies. But collaboration needs to happen. Pula's message is about enforcement and about funding for training and for operations. Also big on mental health facility, a rehab center, to address these people, our people that are into the drugs. But the enforcement part is training of our law enforcement personnel to run operations to protect the homeland, to protect the waters in between the islands of American Samoa. American Samoa is just not one island, Tutuila. There's Aunu'u, there's Ofu, Ta'u, Olosenga, Swains, you name it. So that enforcement in that respect, highlighting funding. Waitotolu and Tote highlighted mental health. They're concerned that the mental health clinic should have done more. They've been trying and running into walls in finding statistical information for any services rendered, any success in these programs in their operations. So that is that. My personal thought is when you have these things, as far as training and counseling and rehab, it all depends on the leadership. It all depends on the leadership. So if you don't have good leadership, then you're going to have situations like this. The main thing that, in my mind, that caught me, that got me, was whatever these candidates say, or the current administration says. Let's put it that way. The stats on, as the lieutenant governor was saying about the 200 pounds of meth, this and that, the arrests are down low. How do we know? How do we know and be assured that that's what you're telling us is the fact? Because we can't find stats. I, as a private individual, citizen, well, whatever you want to say, looked into it, and I was told I have to go to the commissioner or I have to go to the head of that department to get authorization for that information to be released to me. Well, I tried, but it seems like they are unavailable to see me or to take my inquiry. But there has to be transparency. It's not a private company. It's the government for the people. The people have the right to those stats. The people have a right to those information, the data, not just in arrest, but seizures and, a litany of things. So it's important to consider that today is the second gubernatorial forum, but it's going to be held at the American Samoa Community College. So we'll talk again, and when that comes up, and we'll review it tonight, and I'll give my thoughts in the next day or two about what happens today. But for that, keep hope alive.